Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be doing a twin flame energy check-in reading. There are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Amethyst. Group 2 is the Green Calcite. And Group 3 is the Citrine. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups, or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection, and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. Chose the Amethyst. So let's start by seeing what are your twin flames thoughts and feelings about you and the state of the connection right now. Okay, we have Breath, Kintsugi, and 1. So it feels like your twin flame has maybe gone through some kind of awakening, ascension, has had some epiphanies about this connection that is causing them to want to explore the way that they have defined it or even placed limits upon it, or kind of have been gatekeeping their own feelings in regards to you in general or long-term potential in the situation that may have resulted in harsh words that were spoken or kind of running from the connection and dismissing their feelings early on or at a certain point in your interactions with one another. And there's a desire, it feels like, to try and make amends, reach out and create some sort of clarity, or bring you peace of mind as far as wondering, do they think about me still? If you're in a separation or no contact with one another, was this all something imagined? Was this just in my head? Was there a mutual connection that they truly sensed? Why did they run away? Am I the only one sort of feeling this? What's going on here? It feels like they've run the gamut of exploring these same kind of questions within themselves. Silence speaking volumes in this sense, but it feels like they are no longer content to kind of just ruminate on all of this from a distance. And there's this energy of wanting to collaborate with you, kind of dreaming about what that might be like in terms of opening up those lines of communication and sort of revisiting maybe painful chapters in your story with one another to be able to provide clarity and healing to one another, troubleshooting ways in which you can kind of manage any obstacles between the two of you in order to work in a more partnership-oriented fashion towards the future, whether that is having to rebuild trust and sort of like starting off as friends, or something where if they've held back their feelings in the past, there's a sense that they no longer want to remain quiet about that. There's a desire to bring that forth, bring forth some kind of truth, confirm for you that this was not one-sided. You were not the only one that is sensing or has sensed in the past this deep and powerful magnetic draw towards one another. It feels like in the process of something that's happened as far as like awakening or ascension, your twin flame may have been forced to kind of like face some of their shadows, wounds from the past as far as love is concerned that had kind of blocked their heart and caused them to be fearful of accepting the love that you had to offer, or something where they'd held back kind of the best of themselves from you out of a fear of getting hurt. It feels like something that they've been forced to kind of look at this. They may have had some downtime in their life that there's been nothing else for them to really do but to introspect, or something has happened with them energetically where they are finally kind of working up the courage to look at their own reflection and accept sort of their shortcomings in this situation rather than just projecting blame onto you. And so with all this kind of like red energy here, this is root chakra, these red and black energies right here. So it's the idea of like getting back to basics, basics with you, starting to repair the foundation between the two of you. They're giving that a lot of consideration and trying to move in a more productive direction with one another, because it feels like any distance, any separation, this is not an out of sight, out of mind situation, but at this time or recently, you've weighed heavily on their mind. You've been in their thoughts. They may have, again, been like forced to face some things within themselves that has brought back a recollection about what's happened between the two of you, in a sense that they are not satisfied moving forth in their life with unanswered questions between the two of you, or like a half-finished love story. There's a sense of wanting to start over and to kind of build in a more substantial direction with one another. So let's take a look at a major block, obstacle, challenge, or fear that they are dealing with right now in conjunction to this connection. Okay, we have Trinity. So there might have been third parties involved in this situation. If this is something where they were juggling you and another person, there's a sense of that situation may have ended, but there could be a lot of regret at having made you think that you were an option, or making you out to actually be an option. It's almost like the grass wasn't greener on the other side with whatever direction that they chose to move in. This third party energy can also, though, relate to wounds from previous romantic relationships that had crumbled, that it again caused this kind of like gatekeeping energy where they were putting the connection too much to the test, or not trusting in kind of the energies between the two of you, the experiences between the two of you, kind of doubting and questioning, if this time around in a situation with you, could they have a different experience of love and romance, or would it be like previous disappointments where they would build something with someone and then it would fall apart at a certain point in time and they'd be left to pick up the pieces, kind of scoop themselves up out of their own misery. And so it feels like you almost might have been competing unfairly with like a ghost of the past, or ghosts of the past for them. Something that it feels like they are coming to this awareness that you are very unlike anyone that they've known before, anyone that they've had romantic feelings for, anyone that they've been in a romantic relationship with. And there's a sense that all of this kind of fear might have been very unfounded, sort of projecting onto you or making assumptions about you in this situation as compared to what they've known in their personal history. And it feels like all of this has become very clear for them, and it's created a sense of almost regret or shame, kind of like, how could I have put this person in this position? How could I have unfairly judged them or compared them to people from my past that are nothing like this individual, or the experience was nothing like what we have or what we had with one another? So it feels like something that they've kind of cleared away some of the denial about those energies, or if there were actual third parties, those have been cleared out of the equation. And it may be a sense of almost kind of hovering at the starting line with you, as far as like, what do I say in order to jumpstart this connection once more? What do I say in order to, make amends or convey some kind of apology? What do I say in order to explain my motivations in the past, if there weren't like actual third parties in terms of kind of pertinent or present people in their life that, were an obstacle in the situation, just like the wounds of the past? There's a sense of almost like, how do I explain that I was fearful of getting hurt in love again because of something that had happened years ago or decades ago? And so there's a sense of almost part of facing that shadow, part of facing the reflection in the mirror, is the sense of almost, okay, so this was the reality once upon a time. I want something different, or I see this for what it is. Now how to kind of build in a different direction that acknowledges that as a motivation, because there's a sense that you might have been left with a lot of unanswered questions, or you might have been left questioning, like, did I do something wrong? Was there something about me that should have been improved? This might have led to like a self-improvement journey for you, or a need to kind of pour into your own cup, or really kind of endeavor self-love as a result of your experience with this person. They could have been very harsh in terms of the way that they cut you off, or circumstances that happen. A lot of self-sabotage may have been the case, that they are recognizing and taking ownership on their part for sort of the role that they have played in the suffering in this situation. Their own suffering, your suffering, kind of the mutual detriment that has happened in a once beautiful connection between the two of you. And so there's a sense that they know they owe you some kind of explanation, apology, clarity. It's got to be more than just I'm sorry. But then there's a sense of almost like where to start, how to explain that, how do I justify motivations, especially if this was like ghosts of the past and just sort of a fear of history repeating itself in other romantic connections, like in the situation with you. There's almost a sense that at this point with where they're at, it almost doesn't feel rational to them. It's sort of like, what was I so afraid of? Why did I let something so beautiful slip through my fingers because of circumstances that maybe were never meant to last, or, you know, people that were kind of low vibrational or toxic that I'd been dealing with in my romantic history? Why did I allow those experiences to kind of jeopardize something beautiful, something good that came into my reality? So it feels like kind of a moral dilemma for some people, but then also struggling to sort of put to words kind of what the motivations were in the past and what they are kind of doing to overcome those, or sort of heal themselves, or release that sense of woundedness in order to regenerate the connection with you. So let's take a look at their potential actions towards you. Okay, we have channel your knowledge. So for a lot of people, your twin flame may be in the process of like writing some kind of a communication, an email, a text, direct message on social media, trying to get those words out in order to create empowered change with all that yellow, all of that solar plexus chakra energy. This is like working up that courage to speak their truth, you know, not just provide you some kind of an explanation in the thought of, well, this will give us both closure, but it's the sense of almost like, I don't want this to be the end of our story with one another. And so I need to come clean about some things. I need to tell you what it is that I've discovered. I've awakened to some layer of myself, and this is what I have self-reflected about. This is what I'm able to kind of perceive within me as far as unprocessed wounds and shadows of the past that played puppet master in kind of contributing to the detriment of our situation at one point in time. And so it feels like, again, trying to articulate that and put it into words in a way that kind of honors their journey and their experiences in the past. Some of these things, again, it may be almost, they could be feeling a bit sort of foolish, almost like, why was I letting something, a disappointment that happened with someone a decade ago, why was I letting that sort of negatively impact a beautiful new connection that I'd manifested into my reality? So it feels like it's almost very tedious for them, or it's almost kind of, it's a hard process for them to really put to words, you know, a level of truth that they're hoping will almost provide you with peace of mind, or something where it all kind of makes sense, or it sheds light on not them kind of moving from a place of malice, but them moving from a place of deep woundedness without kind of making excuses for themselves. Almost like this empowered communication. This is like, accept my role in this situation. I own what it is that I've done, or what it is that I've done to you. But these are the reasons why. This is the hurt that I was holding inside that caused me to behave in this manner. But then also kind of honoring sort of the nature of these wounds, or whatever the experience is, even if there was like another third party in terms of like an actual person involved, and they'd chosen to go in that direction, or maybe pushed you aside because they were still hoping an ex would return, or they had some kind of back and forth with someone. It's, again, a sense of like they've gotten some kind of clarity that that energy, that choice, maybe even kind of like a player mentality, that was not serving anybody's highest good. And so it's the sense of almost kind of, you know, honoring and recognizing what they're feeling is like shameful behavior in some sort of way, while at the same point in time kind of allowing the past to kind of just be the past, touching upon it, it feels like, but then not wanting to dwell too much, or to make matters worse between the two of you. So that may be why it's kind of a process of like writing things and revising them in order to get those words out just right, because it feels like they really don't want to inflict more suffering in this situation, but there's a sense that we can't just leave things like this between the two of us. So for a lot of you, you may be hearing from your twin flame, you know, in terms of like actual communication, but even with all of this kind of like, you're heavily on their mind and they're thinking what to say and they're like rehearsing it, the telepathy may be increased between the two of you. You may be feeling them energetically speaking, because there's a lot of focus being directed to you. That idea of energy flows where attention goes. And this situation, what's happened with you in the past, where things are at presently, and what they envision for the future, this is the hot topic right now, in terms of their internal focus. They're spending a lot of time thinking about this. So let's get some message cards and see what they want you to know from their higher self. We have you inspire me. So they may be keeping an eye on you from social media, and or they've seen you out and about, they've heard about you through the grapevine, and there's a sense that you are radiating at a very magnetic frequency. You're drawing them in any ways that you have, kind of put that attention back on yourself. You've come to a place of peace and acceptance about where the situation is. You're focusing on the things in your life that you do have the power to change or up leveling. You're taking care of yourself, your emotional well-being, your mental well-being, your energetic well-being, physical well-being, any of these things. It's had a very positive effect upon you that it's definitely caught their attention. And so this could be part of like that motivator of, I want to bring something to you by way of communication, but it's got to be clear. It's got to be detailed. It's got to be concise. I can't just come in with some sort of like, half-hearted apology and then we're repeating the same cycle as we were in before. They're seeing or even just sensing energetically that you've up-leveled in some way. You've taken your power back from this situation, or you've taken your power back in your life in general. And so it's inspiring them to kind of face some uncomfortable truths, offload some baggage, do some healing within themselves before they present almost an upgraded version of them to you. They also say your light still shines brightly on me. So they're definitely feeling you from afar, dreaming about you, daydreaming about you, and again, very like powerfully magnetically drawn to you at this particular point in time. There's a sense that they don't want much more time to go by without some kind of resolution happening in this situation, without a fresh start at least being attempted in this situation. There's a sense that they see clearly now things that they were in denial about before, as far as their feelings for you, the reasons why they may have suppressed these feelings or denied these feelings, or had gone through kind of the motions with you of building a connection, experiencing all that beautiful exchange between the two of you, only to kind of push you away or run in the opposite direction. They've reached a place of clarity within themselves as far as what has motivated that. And more importantly, beyond just knowing what motivates it, it feels like for a lot of people, they're becoming very proactive about how to kind of rewrite that program, create some kind of different strategy, different skill, different coping mechanism, even if it's just sitting with that pain and sitting with kind of the energy of shame and regret over what's happened. That in and of itself feels to be something that they're trying as like a first step or a very major step in terms of breaking out of sort of a habitual experience of good things come into their life and they self-sabotage, or maybe you've gone in extended periods of like back and forth with this individual, round and round, hot, cold, breaking up and making up. They come back and then they run off again. And there's a sense that they are able to see beyond that in this situation. And there's a recognition that if this connection is to survive, if there's hope for the future, then it's very necessary to kind of do something out of the ordinary in this circumstance, do completely the opposite of everything that they've done up to this point in time, with the hope that it will yield different and better results for the two of you. And they also say your presence gave me such a reality check on my life. Yes, this is that confirmation of someone that has definitely gone through an awakening, dark night of the soul. They are ascending. They see the light. They are no longer in denial about their feelings, about the very unique and special experience that meeting you and your interactions with one another, the good times and the bad times, what that has meant for them. It feels like you have powerfully changed your twin flame's life in the sense that they may have just kind of moved through their life, sort of hurts happen, wounds happen, and they covered that up. They numbed it out or just tried to kind of, keep pushing forward, never look back, never dig too deep into the emotions. And it feels like it's been very necessary for them to kind of just collapse into themselves, feel all of these embedded feelings and really purge that, process that in order to be able to create peace for themselves, so that there is the ability to strategize in a more productive direction. So there's the ability to create something different than what they've had up to this point in time, personally, in terms of their relationship with themselves, with other people, and also with you. And they also say, I'll return when the time is right. Please trust me. Yeah, so again, there's a sense that they understand they need to bring something big to you. They can't just return with the same excuses that they've used before. It can't just be a simple, I'm sorry, or hey, how's it going? There's an understanding that they need to be more thorough in terms of what it is that they express to you. There's more that they need to provide as far as not just excuses, but evidence that they have actively been endeavoring to kind of change their ways or, create healthier kind of coping mechanisms, different sort of patterns within, something that reflects a level of self-awareness, that they haven't just used this, time apart to kind of go through the same cycles and the same kind of habitual behavior, but that they have been or are recently starting to try to kind of swim against the current, go in a different direction, create sort of the change in the world around them or in the prospects with you by creating something different within themselves first. So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your twin flame, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got H, U, E, C, N, P, W, Y, T, S, G, U, F, X, T, O, O, P, and H. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. It shows the green calcite. So let's start by taking a look at what are your twin flames' thoughts and feelings about you and the state of the connection right now. Okay, we have weightlessness, resolution, and reciprocity. So it feels like your twin flame may be experiencing some kind of like emotional detachment due to like stress and pressure in their life in general, but it feels like also coupled with sort of like a looming fear almost about what have I done? If they've done anything in this situation to self-sabotage, have pushed you away, have tried to deny their feelings, or, have not reciprocated with you, have like run in the opposite direction, it feels that they have gained a lot of distance from the closeness that you once shared with one another, which at one point in time was almost what they thought they wanted or needed, or was like the right thing for themselves or for the two of you. But there's a sense that now there's almost this feeling of, well, I'm locked out in the cold. How do I get back in? This wasn't exactly what I wanted. This doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good kind of out here in the wasteland without this person. They're recognizing you in some way as more important than they had originally kind of thought you were. The impact upon their life in general, emotionally speaking, or kind of the version of themselves that came to the surface when they were around you, it's almost a favorite version of themselves, or it's a better version of themselves. And now there's almost a sense that they're feeling that the volume has been turned down on life, on their ability to relate to themselves quite as authentically or deeply as they were able to when they were almost influenced or encouraged by your presence. There's a sense of almost, is it too little too late? So maybe they've been running for you for quite some time, or you've been in like an extended no contact situation. Something they could have said or done might have felt very final between the two of you. And there's a sense of almost like, how do I come back from this? How is this situation supposed to survive what we have put it through, or what I've put it through? And some of this kind of a doom and gloom energy may really, again, be stemming from like other things that are going on in their life right now. They may be going through a dark night of the soul, kind of wandering in that sort of shadowscape within. They may be kind of in sort of a low point in their life in general. And it's a sense of almost regretting how they handled the situation in terms of not making you more of a priority or just pushing you away altogether, because there's a sense of almost, I could use your wisdom, I could use your advice, I could just use your presence in my life at this particular point in time. But they may feel that they're not in a position, because of things that they've done in the past, to reach out and like ask you for help, or to, at this point in time, kind of knock on that door and try to resume an active role in your life. And that may also be because of like low things that are happening with them emotionally speaking, or in their life in like other ways at this point, that it's almost like they don't feel like a vibrant version of themselves, to where it's almost, it would require them sort of crawling back to you at this point in time, as opposed to being able to come back in sort of an emboldened fashion or in a confident fashion. In general, they may just have, drama that's going on, or just a lot happening internally speaking. They may be going through some kind of change or metamorphosis, and there's almost like a craving or a yearning for you, and a sense of almost fear in terms of like, on the other side of this process, if they're able to pick themselves out of this slump that they're in, would you still be available for them? Would you be receptive to them? Has so much damage occurred in this situation that it's kind of like past the point of no return. It cannot be repaired. So it feels like they're sort of running the gamut of almost like worst case scenarios. A deep fear of rejection at this particular point in time that may also be keeping them at a distance. Or if you're in contact with them still, they may have pulled back or kind of closed off emotionally speaking, almost trying to kind of like shield you or guard you from what's happening internally speaking. And there's a recognition on their part that if they've gone kind of cold, or, maybe they've started making up excuses as far as why they can't, prioritize you or talk or spend as much time with you, there's a sense of almost knowing that this is not serving the highest good of the connection. This is not benefiting sort of the trust that you share with one another. This is putting undue stress and pressure on the situation, but they themselves may be very kind of emotionally numb at this point in time, kind of at a loss for sort of what to do to add healthy energies into the situation. There's almost a sense of kind of like, if this connection has a future, if we're able to repair things or kind of pick up and resume sort of where things have been put on pause, then the energy that they're in presently, or whatever's going on, like their state of mind, there's almost a sense of this doesn't benefit that long-term future. So it's almost a sense of feeling that they need to kind of shield you or shield this connection from themselves, from sort of this version of themselves, or this season of their life that they are in at this point. But then also a lot of loneliness, a lot of longing, a lot of feeling your absence, missing your warmth, missing the exchanges between the two of you, but kind of understanding that it's like they need to pry themselves out of whatever it is that they are kind of in, or have been kind of swept up in at this particular point in time, in order to be able to not kind of bring you down or create more sort of wounding or hurt in the situation. So there's a sense of almost just kind of feeling very collapsed at this particular point in time, but definitely kind of looking at you or this situation as almost a lighthouse or like a point on the horizon that they are wanting to reach towards or wanting to strive for that, but not necessarily feeling that they have the strength or the wherewithal to do that at this point. So let's take a look at a major challenge, obstacle, block, or fear that they are working on right now in terms of this connection. Okay, we have portals. So this feels to be something that's almost a fear that time is not working in their favor, that there may be a limited window of opportunity or door of opportunity that's open, or that is quickly closing between the two of you. A sense of your patience may be running thin with them if they've kind of just gone cold and closed themselves off. If you're still actively in communication with your twin flame, there's a sense of recognizing you as a high value person who knows their worth, and there's a sense of you're not just going to sit there and wait for me forever. And so kind of a pressure to act, or a pressure to kind of pull themselves out of some sort of internal darkness, sort of like navigate that dark night of the soul, which it feels like is only adding pressure to the situation. It's only making matters worse for them, because there's a sense of like, I've got to hurry, I've got to do this quickly, I've got to do something, it's now or never. And yet there's something necessary about whatever it is that they're sitting in at this point. Or maybe if it also has to do with like things in their external world, in their life, that has nothing to do with this connection. Some of that may be just kind of out of their hands, out of their control, and they're tasked with sort of just accepting the things that they can't change at this particular point in time. But there's a fearfulness of almost, is this other drama, are these other circumstances, is my internal state, is this going to be something which erodes the ability for us to get back to closeness with one another? Am I going to pull it together, or pull myself out of this kind of rut that I'm in, and your heart is closed off, or you've moved off in another direction, or somebody else has kind of come in and swept you off your feet, and then what am I left with? If you're in no contact with one another, and especially if it's been a long period of no contact, there's almost sort of a fear of kind of like a potential suitor that may come in. They may be, if they're watching you on social media, you may have made efforts to kind of like move forward with other people. You're opening yourself up to the experience of love and partnership, and somebody that's ready, willing, and able to reciprocate with you in a high vibrational manner. And so they may be picking up on, or kind of seeing and feeling a bit sort of threatened or intimidated by the idea of other people giving you attention, other people coming and sort of taking their place by your side, even though they may have forfeited that place, or kind of, run off in the other direction or pushed you away. And so there's a sense of almost like, who am I to expect you to wait, or to rightfully kind of claim you as my own when I have not done anything recently, or maybe even overall to express the nature of my feelings. It feels for a lot of people, they've kept it bottled up, kind of the full extent of what they feel for you, what you mean to them, what they envision as the future of this situation, or what they hope the future of the situation is. And so there's a sense that someone else will come along and will be direct with their intentions. Someone else will come along and be assertive and make a move and kind of do all the right things that they've not been able to do in the past. And so, if there is like anyone else in your life, or you're talking to other people, you're just getting attention from other people, that feels again to be adding a lot of pressure onto your twin flame. Like, I got to do something. I got to get back in there. I got to secure my position, but I don't necessarily feel like the best version of myself at this point. So what do I really have to offer at this point? So let's take a look at their potential actions towards you. Okay, we have align your universe. So this again kind of speaks to that dark night of the soul energy, and it feels like waiting as quickly as they can through this process of upheaval, through a process of metamorphosis, which ultimately is about surrender. It's about relinquishing the need to control timing and outcomes, and just trusting in the process, trusting in kind of the power of love to guide the two of you to the proper juncture of where you need to be within yourselves and within your individual realities, in order to align most effectively and efficiently in terms of a reunion, if that's possible, or, on the other side of kind of growth and metamorphosis, it may be that sort of your story with one another in a material sense runs its course, which it feels like could be that worst case scenario, that fear coming to pass, coming to a place of reality, which it feels like your twin flame is almost tasked with sort of accepting that as an option, a possibility in this situation, in addition to kind of this desire that they have to invest more, or to express some kind of personal truth to you, to make their way back to you with an openness of heart, a level of honesty that might not have been there in the past. There's something very necessary about this time in their life. This is almost like divine intervention, working for your highest good, for their highest good, for the highest good of the connection, because there's something that they're needing to see within this kind of dark night of the soul period, something in terms of like that internal chaos, or that turmoil, or that low kind of vibration or state of mind that they're in. This is a time for them to really be very compassionate with themselves, be very gentle with themselves, feel the nature of the totality of their feelings, feel those fears, and understand that this too shall pass. pass and kind of become that light within their own darkness, which it feels like is part of the process of like making their way back towards you. So you may start to feel them kind of pull on you energetically. There may be a lot that happens in the dream space, where they're kind of projecting themselves out to you consciously in terms of like astral travel or astral projection, or even something where, just the subconscious mind is kind of magnetized back into you. A lot of healing taking place in that dream space, very mutually for the two of you. And that can also kind of give you a gauge or an estimate of sort of where they are at in terms of, traversing that darkness, kind of feeling by intuition and being brought along in a very sort of divinely guided and orchestrated manner through a process of, like ego dissolution and rebuilding into kind of the next version of themselves, or a more authentic version of themselves, something more balanced within, that it feels like is kind of contingent to them being able to unlock the next door of opportunity between the two of you. It's almost something where they're needing to accept a door of opportunity may close, but it may also be because they are having to transform into somebody else, and therefore that version of them is the key that unlocks a different door to a new opportunity between the two of you in the future. That it's kind of like the pathway they were aiming towards, or the way in which they were very intentional of like, I've got to come back in, I've got to insert myself, I've got to claim my place by this person that I'd rejected, I'd run from, I'd closed off, I'm kind of pulled away within myself. It's almost a sense that the proper gateway to kind of get through to you or to align with you, it's something that they are not currently looking at. It's something that is reflective of like an upgraded version of themselves. So it feels like the possible actions, the next potential actions, are continuing to go through this process of metamorphosis within, which helps to illuminate kind of that more appropriate pathway towards you, or kind of a different version of themselves that is able to hold and exchange in a more kind of equitable and sustainable manner the power of this energy between the two of you, kind of the full nature of the force which flows between the two of you, which is different from like three-dimensional love, limited love, kind of surface level love. There's something where they're in the process of becoming that higher love in and of themselves, which allows them to kind of experience that with you, mind, body, and soul, further down the road. So let's get some message cards from their higher self and see what they want you to know right now. And they say, you make me feel seen. So that in the past might have really frightened them, this level of vulnerability, or how you could almost read their moods, or anticipate kind of the things that they were going to say, the deep magnetic bond between the two of you, the spiritual connection that sort of transcends the ordinary. That might have been something that made them very self-conscious and kind of caused them to push you away, or put their guard up. But now there's a sense of like longing for that, yearning for that, understanding that it's very incomparable to anything else that they've known. They're having this desire at this point where they're kind of searching for like, who am I? Who do I want to become? And you seem to be somebody that has always kind of registered the core nature of who they are as a soul, beyond the titles, beyond the definitions, beyond kind of the surface level qualities and characteristics. You're somebody who has always read them at that deeper level, or you've spoken to them, at the heart level, at the soul level. And so there's a deep desire for that kind of experience at this point. They also say, I miss the way you look at me. So eye contact may have been very intense between the two of you in the past. A lot of energy exchanged in that capacity. Again, sort of a sense of almost like self-consciousness, like this person can read my soul. They know who I am beyond kind of the mask that I wear for others. It may have almost felt sort of like deja vu when they first met you, or a deep past life connection between the two of you. A lot of like flashbacks to previous incarnations that could have definitely activated some sort of spiritual awakening, some kind of third eye activation too. And that could have been very overwhelming for this person, where they were at in kind of just their own spiritual journey or their actual journey in life, whatever they had going on in their reality when you first came into it. It feels like is vastly different from sort of where they are focused at this particular point in time. You've opened their mind to a different way of like seeing the world, or even sort of contemplating and experiencing connections between individuals. They also say, without you, mornings are the worst. So it feels like this is someone who's definitely alone. They're not seeing other people. They may be spending a lot of time by themselves in kind of like hermit mode, deep introspection, dark night of the soul energy, having a very hard time kind of finding the motivation to kind of push forward or to keep putting on a happy face for the benefit of others. There's a desire to experience deeper intimacy with you, deeper level of partnership, a level of closeness that once was there, was suggested or hinted at, that you never quite were able to sort of make work very effectively or efficiently. So again, kind of experiences in the dream state may be heightened at this particular point in time between you and your twin flame. And all of that can be an indicator not just of their higher self kind of reaching out for you, but very consciously this person is, sort of thinking of you as that kind of light in their darkest hour. They also say, you mirror my strengths and weaknesses. I panicked. Yeah, so it feels like, you were able to kind of read them at a soul level. They were able to read you at a soul level. And it feels like even kind of the best version of themselves that they could see reflected in your eyes, despite your strengths and your kind of deficits or insufficiencies. It's like they always kind of saw a shining version of you, that it was a struggle for them to really accept what they were seeing in you is also an emanation of something inside of themselves. They may have been very kind of instinctually fearful at the idea of like, yeah, there's a better version of self, but in order to get there, you have to go through that personal darkness in order to become that light, in that darkest hour. And that feels like where they are at right now. They're in that process of kind of sitting in that heaviness and trying to become their own personal illumination. And so it feels like something that there's a lot of regret, almost like if I knew then what I know now, I would have made a different choice in the situation. I would have explained to you more about my fears or what I was feeling. I wouldn't have been so abrupt in pushing you away. I wouldn't have stayed away for as long as I have stayed, or, I would have made the decision to, let you in rather than sort of closing off to you. So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your twin flame, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got P, O, S, S, W, E, V, H, T, L, G, L, H, F, R, R, and O. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. Chose the citrine. So let's see, what are your twin flames' thoughts and feelings about you and the state of the connection right now? Okay, we have abundance, direction, and ecstasy. So it feels like they are experiencing period of bliss in terms of the idea of what the future between the two of you can hold. They're seeing you as their 10 of Pentacles, their wish fulfillment, everything that they have been looking for in a life partner. And it feels like this is motivating them to look around at the life that they are living and to ask some serious questions of themselves. What can I do in order to make my internal landscape, my external reality, more of a nurturing and conducive space for this love to blossom? There's a sense that they're thinking about taking things to the next level. So this can involve something where maybe feelings haven't been expressed outwardly between the two of you. And so they're getting ready to, kind of speak that deep personal truth. They're putting a lot of emphasis on, I need to get this right. I need to get it out properly so that it doesn't create awkwardness between the two of us, but instead opens the door towards a development of something more in this situation. A sense that if they have almost held back that personal truth, there's a sense that enough is enough and I need to take this chance. The opportunity is here. I need to do something at this particular point in time because they're seeing you as a treasure, as wish fulfillment, as somebody that is rare and precious. Your arrival in their life, it feels like, has changed a lot of the thoughts that they had about like the type of person that they were maybe looking for, or who that ideal partner would be, the candidate that would be best suited for them. There's a sense that you represent a lot of things that may be very different from their usual type and expectation in terms of romantic partners, and yet you're everything that they need. There's an energy here of you fulfill a lot of those wants and desires, but there's also a sense of, I didn't know that I needed something like this, something that you bring forth, and yet I feel more safe within myself, accepted within myself, more motivated to kind of push beyond the boundaries of how I usually show up in romantic connections or in my life in general. It's almost like they're holding themselves to a higher standard, not just wanting to impress you on an egoic level, but to really kind of do their due diligence at this particular point in time to bring themselves up beyond any sort of limiting or lower vibrational patterns or experiences or any kind of influences in their life that may be kind of limiting them from reaching that full potential or kind of taking things to the next level in their reality, because there's a sense of almost like, I want to give you the world. I want to give you the best of me. I want to rise to the occasion to be the type of person that you feel safe blossoming into the best version of you. There's a sense that it's a very almost like a precious energy that they feel towards you, a lot of tenderness that may not have been expressed up to this point in time. This may be somebody who's a very deeply romantic person, but just kind of has a hard exterior, like a shell that they kind of keep the best of them sort of hidden away from the world. And that could be out of like guardedness, wounds from the past, and kind of like fear of vulnerability, or just something where they've never felt inspired, they've never felt seen, they've never felt safe, they've never felt motivated to kind of bring this facet of themselves out into the open. And yet with you, there's a sense of, I can be more of the entirety of myself. I can express romance and be that romantic person, or be that very kind of like caring and compassionate person emotionally to another person in a way that even it feels like the thoughts and ideas that they have, or maybe even things that they've done already and they've kind of shown to you, it's almost like it surprises them. They didn't know this version of them existed. And there's a sense that they are recognizing and appreciating like the flow and the harmony between the two of you, where there's a sense of, I want to do what I need to do in order to keep this going, in order to protect this connection, in order to preserve what we've built with one another, because I see you as that long-term partner, as marriage material, as the one that I want to combine my life with so that we can go on into the future as this very empowered couple that is kind of building on a practical foundation, but also feels like they recognize kind of this otherworldly quality of the energies between the two, this very rare experience emotionally, that it's almost like, I've never met anyone like you. I know that no one like you will ever come along again in my life, and I don't want to just let this slip through my fingers. I want to do what it takes in order to build from this point, rather than allowing this very unique connection to dissipate, or the spark between the two of us to diminish in any kind of way. So let's take a look at a major block, obstacle, challenge, or fear that they are dealing with right now in terms of this connection. Okay, we have burrow. So this person may not be very good at expressing their feelings, articulating their feelings. This may be somebody who has only ever been valued for what they can kind of provide to others on a material level. They've never been celebrated for who they are as an individual or as a soul, or even kind of this tenderness, this softness, like a gentle aspect to their nature. It feels like this is something that they've never felt comfortable kind of expressing that to anyone else before. Anytime that it's maybe come out in other situations in their past, they were mocked, they were ridiculed, or they were taken advantage of due to kind of that softness that they have inside. And so they've learned to mask that. They've learned to hide that in a way. And there's a sense of almost timidness. Like, is this facet of myself, are you going to accept this? Is this safe with you? Like, they feel so compelled in that direction. They feel like you're somebody that my heart is safe with. You are somebody that would be very gentle with my soul. You are somebody who would understand these deeper and more intricate layers of the variety of love languages I am capable of speaking or conveying. And so there's a sense of almost like wanting to cross some kind of threshold, go beyond the comfort zone, do what they've never done before, pull out all the stops as far as romantic gestures and efforts or words and affirmations, something that just shows you kind of a different layer of themselves than you've known up to this point in time, which it feels like they're almost like scared to do that. They're scared of rejection. It's almost like there's a sense here that you make them feel that it's like a first kiss, or that they've never had experiences in romance and love. Even if they have had other experiences in romance and love, they've had relationships, maybe they've been married and divorced, there's still the energy of like, you make me feel like I'm loving again for the first time, or like it's possible to kind of just step beyond sort of my broken or my painful past, emotionally speaking. And it's something that's very exciting. It's very compelling, the idea of that, or the experience of that they've had so far. But then there's also the sense of kind of like, is this real? Is this too good to be true? Is this something that you're going to continue to receive, this layer of myself that I'm showing to you? Or am I just setting myself up to be hurt or disappointed? Is this going to make you look at me in a way that is not so filled with love in the same manner that you do currently? So let's take a look at their potential actions towards you. Okay, we have between worlds. So this is like slow and steady wins the race. This is somebody that is becoming more and more empowered to continue to open up, to continue to take down the walls, take off the various masks that they wear, and to allow you to see different facets of themselves. This is somebody who it feels like understands that there is deep long-term potential here. There's nobody else that they want to be with. You are the central focus for them. But there's a sense that experiences that they may have had in the past that happened very quickly, or they rushed into things, or didn't take the time to kind of experience all seasons of the person that they were giving their heart to, that wasn't the most advantageous strategy in terms of long-term successive partnerships. And they see you as that forever person, as the one that they want to link their life with. And so there's a sense of almost trusting in kind of this gradual process, feeling into almost that sense of shyness or nervousness about like kissing someone for the first time, or saying I love you for the first time, or just kind of like young love. That's what they're sort of sensing here, an innocence about this, that it feels like they are understanding there's a necessity to this, or it's something that they want to savor. So you may experience like little gestures from them, little sweet things, flirtations, something that indicates like a level of sweetness, and where they've almost kind of learned you and are making efforts to kind of speak your love language, or do things that truly make you smile from the inside, that it feels like will be very different than anything that you've known or experienced in terms of romance in the past. But they're doing it very deliberately, because there's a sense of almost like, I don't want us to miss a moment of the very sweet and precious stage that we are at with in our connection with one another, because I see this going all the way into that forever commitment. So let's enjoy every step along this road. Let's enjoy every aspect of this. Let's soak it all in and heal ourselves and each other through this very different experience of love and partnership. That it feels like it's very unlike what they've known, and it feels like they're preparing or intending to kind of like continue showing and demonstrating things to you that are very unlike whatever you've known and experienced in love up to this point in time. So let's get some message cards from their higher self and see what they want you to know right now. They say, I want you here with me. So yeah, they're thinking about that Ten of Pentacles energy, that happily ever after, that forever bond between the two of you. And there's a sense that they're listening to the higher guidance or their spirit guides or anybody that they've kind of confided in about you and the connection and their feelings. It feels like they're getting really good advice as far as like keep up the momentum of sort of dazzling this person, of really showing a deep layer of affection and imagination and dedication, because that can only enhance what you are building with one another. And so it feels like they're following that advice, or even their own kind of like intuition that is causing them to sort of get very creative in terms of the ways in which they show you in a very multifaceted way that you matter, that you mean a lot to them, that you are very precious, that you are somebody that they set apart from all others. And so it feels like they will continue to sort of pull you in closer or work very proactively to solidify this connection between the two of you through these kind of imaginative romantic gestures. They also say, I miss your warmth. So it feels like the time apart from one another, even if it's just, you're hanging out or you're talking and then you go your separate ways, you have to live your life and go about your day-to-day responsibilities. They're daydreaming a lot about you, or kind of just immersed in the experience of you energetically. You're like a perfume that surrounds them. And it feels like they're very intoxicated by this energy. They're in this very kind of like dreamy state about, I didn't know love could feel like this. I didn't know that partnership could feel like this. I didn't know that I was capable, like a version of themselves that's kind of coming out of hiding or is developing for the first time through the experiences with you. It's almost like I didn't know that I could be this kind of lover. I didn't know that I could be this creative as far as the ways in which I, show my affections. I didn't know that love could be a place where I would bloom and I would feel inclined to kind of create that same sort of nurturing space for another person to feel comfortable to kind of unfurl themselves into the most beautiful version of them. So it feels like, again, there's this motivation to continue to feed into this very beautiful connection between the two of you. They also say, I have a serious fear of both abandonment and suffocation. So there's a sense here that there's so much more tenderness and vulnerability that they want to show to you, but there's a sense of almost like, is this going to turn you off, or are you going to take advantage of that kind of soft part of them? Is this going to be something where they're going to regret kind of opening up? That might have been the case if they'd let people in and kind of given a little peek of this aspect of themselves in the past, and that could have been something that was very detrimental, or like a deeply sensitive person that when they're wounded it cuts very deeply, and so there's a sense that they may not have let anyone in like that in a while, or not as deep as they have with you already, or that they intend to. And so again, there's almost a sense of like, I want to keep opening up in this situation. I want to keep inviting you in. I want to keep giving of myself to you on these deeper and deeper levels, but I'm afraid that you won't like what you see, that this isn't what you're looking for, that you won't feel this is an empowered version of me, or if you get in too close, when you leave me at some particular point in time, then what am I supposed to do? I've opened up on this emotional level, and it's almost like you've set the bar very high now, as far as they know that no other love could compare to this. No other person could compare to like the way that you make them feel. They also say you bring out the best in me because you see the best in me. So there's that confirmation of like an aspect of them, a romantic inside, a poet that lives in them that they have never had the proper motivation, incentive, or even have just instinctually felt inclined to kind of bring to the surface in as deep rooted as a manner as they are feeling inclined to do with you, or that they've already demonstrated or intend to show you even more of in kind of the days, weeks, months, years to follow. There's a sense that they feel good about themselves when they are in your presence. You reflect back that ultimate energy of self-love. They have loved themselves enough to reach this place in their own life journey, and they're seeing you as this blessing, as this reward. You are that counterpart energy. You are that soulmate. You are that twin flame. You are that yin to their yang that really, mirrors the best of them and helps them to have compassion and understanding for the parts of themselves that they don't consider strengths. So there's a sense that they feel that the two of you balance one another out very well, and that they are very motivated to do whatever it takes in order to continue to deepen the connection between the two of you. So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name if you or your twin flame, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got M, E, U, V, I, L, W, V, S, D, B, T, T, B, and I. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.